do you know anything about these guys? Second guy says, nope, never heard of them. First guy says, where is this Kalita Italy? Second guy says, no idea. I can only surmise that it wasn't long after the game commenced that they found out something about these guys, that they knew how to play the game. And just for the record, it's not Kalita, it's Kalida. And it's about 20 or 25 minutes straight west of here, and a couple or so minutes south. When this team was being formed, there were a number of the players in question playing on other teams around the area. A few guys were also playing fastball, some weren't playing at all. But when approached about the possibility of a Kalida team, they all jumped at the chance. They were just a bunch of guys from the same community that wanted to play together on one team. The Border League was approached about entering this team and its expected roster members and numbers, and they were accepted. A new team helped to revitalize the league. It revived some old rivalries and set about making some new ones. And I think probably increased fan interest and support, not only for the Kalida guys, but probably all across our league. Like it states in the program, there was no diamond in Kalida, so nearby Manitou became the site for their home games. But what the program doesn't say is that relatively shortly thereafter, this team and their avid supporters began transforming a Kalida farmer's pasture into a new baseball diamond, and a pretty nice facility at that. I'd also like to tell you that we used to enjoy whipping their butt. But I guess to be fair, I really should also tell you that during the time, 74 to 78, it didn't probably happen often enough from our standpoint. And I think there were a number of other teams from our area that thought exactly the same thing. This was a good team, offensively and defensively. On defense, they had good gloves and good arms. Most could play well at more than one position. And I don't mean at the same time, they weren't that good, quite that good. On offense, their lineup was pretty solid. They could hit with power and they could hit for average. They could bunt and they could run, most of them. You'll be able to pick them out in a few minutes. They were well coached, and I've heard it said that these coaches were admired and revered by the players on this team. They all loved to play, and another thing you could bet on, they always came to play. Another thing that needs to be mentioned about many of the members of this team is that when their playing days were done, they didn't just quit and walk away. Many continued to contribute and still do. Many of these guys coach and manage and umpire or referee or are otherwise involved with kids' sports in their communities. In baseball, fastball, hockey, curling, and so on. And they have contributed at the local, the regional, the high school, provincial, and national levels. Many of this team have also been involved on local municipal governments and the school board. 3 members of this team currently are members of the Morden Operating Committee for this Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum. A team most worthy of this honor tonight, not just for the 5 years identified, 1974 to 78, and not just for their skills on the field, but also for their decades of contribution on and off the field to baseball and other sports and aspects of their communities. Ladies and gentlemen, let me present to you the individual members of this team present or represented here tonight. Firstly, a pitcher, Gordy Clayton. Third base, Greg Clayton. Second base and a pitcher, Randy Clayton. An infielder and also one of the coaches I was speaking about earlier, Stu Clayton. First base and pitcher, Dwight Crawford. And center fielder, who crashed the Manitou fence after a ball, Earl Edwards, represented here tonight by his daughters, Erin and Pam, and their son, David. And in right field, Garnet Edwards. Pitcher, Reg Edwards. Jack Edwards is one of those coaches. And Reg is also accepting Jack's trophy here tonight on behalf of the family. Lloyd Henniger, infielder and pitcher. First base, Jim Hunt. Shortstop and left field, the tall guy on the team, Mel Johnston. Third base, Ed Lunger. Darren Maloney, outfielder. Another of the revered coaches, Bob McElroy, represented here tonight by his daughter, Mavis Scarr. Brian McElroy is an outfielder. Brian was here earlier. Unfortunately, he had to leave, but he's represented here tonight by his sister, Gloria. Shortstop and pitcher. It's odd for me to say that. I thought he was a catcher. Daryl McElroy. Catcher and outfield, Dennis Pierce. Another of those special coaches, Mel Pierce, represented tonight by his widow Phyllis and by his daughters, Maureen Anderson and Janet Lemire. Right field and shortstop, Tom Pierce. First base, Cliff Stewart. Bob Stewart is an outfielder with this team. Unfortunately, he's in the hospital, and he's represented here tonight by his sons, TJ and Jeff. And lastly, but definitely not least, first base, Jeff Ford. And I would now ask Lloyd Henniger and Mel Johnston to come forward and accept the team plaque in recognition of this event tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the first inductees for 2011 and the newest inductees into the Manitoba Baseball Hall of Fame. the Kalida Cage from 1974 to 1978. Congratulations, Kalida.
Thank you, Gordy, for that kind and illuminating introduction. Your comments on the diamond were not always that generous, though. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight, first of all, our team wants to express our gratitude to the Manitoba Baseball Hall of Fame for this recognition of a bunch of country boys from a very small community. In 1974, Kalida itself housed less than 20 people, and our roster had 18. Most of the players lived within a 4-mile radius of the village and were mainly students or farmers. We want to thank Walter Mueller and the Manitou Braves for sharing their ballpark with us in that time. We express our sincere appreciation to Lloyd Heminger and Tom Pierce for their work in research and planning and preparation for this occasion. And this would be a good time for you guys to clap. Thanks to our many friends. Yeah, thanks, Tom. Thanks to our many friends and families who are here tonight to share with us in this celebration. Kalida community really got behind their team, and it was just so much fun being encouraged by those boisterous, yelling, horn-honking, appreciative fans back in the 70s. We recognize Ken Crawford, Dallas Cobb, Barry Stevens, and Grant Cobb, who each played briefly in those 5 years. We especially want to bring attention to a man who is here tonight and who umpired Kalida baseball for over 3 decades. Charlie Barnhart, will you stand up, please? And as you gracefully age, don't worry about your eyesight going on. To Councillor Hildebrand, and welcoming us to beautiful Morden. Yes, many times we left here thinking this is a beautiful place to play ball. We really enjoyed it. In 1974, the Kalida team was named, uniformed, and fashioned after the World Series champion Oakland A's. We were fortunate to have been young when baseball was so popular, where it was valued and nurtured, and this gave us opportunity to learn success and pass on to future generations. What was it like to play for Kalida and its faithful fans? Well, for one thing, wherever you went in the area all summer long, people made comments about the exciting games and gave us encouragement. We played hard in Kalida, very hard, with a biting intensity that expected no favors and darn sure never gave any. We were among peers, guys who shared our love of the game. It was the #1 sport in almost all our lives. Players who loved to have fun in the diamond, to compete, who generated enthusiasm and fire. But the competition for playing time, practices were rough, were sometimes more intense and personally demanding than games. We knew pressure just from practices. At times, our hustle and speed could be intimidating for opposition. I recall, after a third out, outfielders racing to the dugout to beat the infielders off the diamond. Or sometimes that wasn't that hard. To start a game, we often took the field with the same energy and style. We loved the fastball, and the faster it came, the further it went, and it went. But breaking balls, not so much. In the 74 to 78 span, I can only recall a couple of pitchers that threw too hard for us. For opposing pitchers, our lineup was 9 tough outs. I remember the dugout and the diamond held lots of revelry, a glorious camaraderie which goes with the winners. immense enthusiasm, a confidence in one another, but a realization of our own limits and fallibility. Although we had some players who set the bar high, we knew that as individuals, we weren't too much, but as a team, we were pretty good. Some of my memories in Kalida, we were fortunate to see and play on a team where, as Gordy mentioned, a fielder ran right through the outfield fence at a fantastic speed in pursuit of the towering fly ball. We saw a back catcher catch behind first base, the errant throw of an infielder, run down and tag out the batter before he could reach second. A pitcher start and win 4 games in 8 days. A different pitcher en route to a tournament team victory saved 3 games in 1 day. 2 players steal a combined 73 bases in 1 season, and in 1978 have selected 9 players to the League All-Star team at 9 positions. In closing, we say thank you once again to the Hall of Fame. We pay tribute to the 4 great coaches in the 5 years. Stu Clayton, the deceased Bob McElroy, Mel Pierce, and Jack Edwards. Every game there were some tough decisions. 8 pitchers, including 4 regular starters, 5 or 6 left-handed batters, 8 or 9 right-handed batters, and 3 switch hitters. Excepting Stu, everyone was 15 to 30 years old. Through youth baseball, almost everyone had been a team leader or best player on their team. We were not used to bench warming and wanted no part of that. The coaches achieved marvelous results, keeping harmony on the team and wins in the scorebook. We were taught that we played baseball for fun, and it's no fun to lose. We salute Mel Pierce for his role in the original formation of our team, his strong guidance in those first years, his leadership of men and getting the best from his players. Stu Clayton, we recognize for his sound strategy, excellent decision-making, and his great example. Bob McElroy was famous for his leadership, enthusiasm, and positive attitude which generated confidence. Jack Edwards, a local legend for his playing skills, had the respect and admiration of everyone who put on the Caves jersey. With his terrific knowledge of baseball, he was our go-to guy for situational hitting and pitching strategy. We all looked up to Jack. Those 4, we admire them all. They have our undying gratitude, respect, and appreciation for making possible 5 fabulous years as a team, which we shall never forget.